18 months ago, in the opening moments of the 2013 session, legislative leaders and I gathered in this room to tout a proposal to let our four-year universities invest in their future. I said then that the schools have a great deal for this state. They want to build or substantially renovate facilities to meet the growing needs of their expanding campuses, and they want to pay for that construction themselves. A few weeks later, House Bill 7 passed the legislature, and I soon signed it into law. The quick and collaborative effort and action which set the tone for the entire session was motivated by a firm belief in the mission of those institutions. Today I'm here with Dr. Mike McCall, President of the Kentucky Community and Technical College System, and the presidents of those colleges in the system, to tout a similar proposal that represents the same great deal. This proposal gives our two-year career and technical schools the same authority to invest in their campuses. And this proposal, which I unveiled in my budget address to the General Assembly on January the 21st, is motivated by a similar belief, a belief in the critical mission of KCTCS. This proposal is called the KCTCS BuildSmart Investment for Kentucky Competitiveness. It's historic for two reasons. One, it represents the single largest investment in the KCTCS system since its foundation. And two, it represents the first time our two-year schools would be allowed to use what's called agency bonds to fund construction. As you know, agency bonds don't require a dime from the general fund and add zero burden to taxpayers. The schools themselves pay the debt service using site-specific revenue streams, just as the four-year schools do. So any concern about debt and impact on Kentucky's general fund is misplaced. Now, as to need, more than 92,000 students access education through the two-year system and its 16 colleges and 73 campuses. There's a reason the system's tagline is "Higher Education Begins Here." These students include a combination of recent high school graduates and adults, both working adults looking to advance their skills and adults needing to get back into the workforce. KCTCS is one of our most important tools in building a stronger, more agile, and adaptable workforce. And that role has become even more important as jobs created in this 21st century economy require an ever-growing body of knowledge and increasingly complex skill set. But our two-year colleges cannot handle this huge task with their current infrastructure. And their infrastructure needs cannot be met only by the general fund. How do I know this? Because the last three biennial budgets have passed with no new capital improvements for KCTCS. So the leadership at KCTCS and its 16 schools came to me with a proposal to be allowed to use agency bonds to fund up to 75% of the cost of 16 critical projects. At least 25% of the remaining cost will come from the local communities and other public or private sources. This is a perfect example of the public and private sectors working in concert, and it builds on the close connection between these institutions and the business communities whose workers they groom. This list totals $145.5 million in agency bonds, and paired with the local match, will finance $194 million in construction across the Commonwealth. The list of projects is included in the handout. It contains one project at every school. It includes renovation of existing buildings, construction of new classrooms, and the second phases of several ongoing projects. Talk to any of these presidents after this press conference, and they will describe how desperately needed these projects are to their campuses and to their mission. During this historic recession and its aftermath, general fund support for the operating budgets of our higher education institutions have been reduced 15%. And unfortunately, because of a tight budget, we're proposing an additional cut of 2.5% in the next 2 years. But with this agency bond proposal, we can mitigate the impact of those cuts and help our 16 KCTCS schools meet the growing needs of their campuses. I now want to call upon Dr. Mike McCall, the president of KCTCS. Mike?
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate the opportunity to be with you today and a part of this press conference. So speaking on behalf of all of our college presidents, who most of them are here today with us, I can say that without a doubt, this truly is the biggest investment in KCTCS since the system was founded back in 1997. This historic statewide $194 million public-private partnership, it will provide funding for the top capital projects at all 16 of our colleges. I'd like to introduce the presidents that are able to join us today. Dr. George Edwards from Big Sandy, Dr. Augusta Julian from Bluegrass, Dr. Thelma White from Elizabethtown, Dr. Ed Hughes from Gateway, Dr. Steve Greiner from Hazard, Dr. Chris Williams from Henderson, Dr. Jay Allen from Hopkinsville, Dr. Tony Newberry from Jefferson, Dr. Ed Story from Maysville, Dr. Phil Neal, South Central Kentucky, Dr. Lynn Moore, Southeast Kentucky, and Dr. Barbara Veazey from West Kentucky. I appreciate them taking the time, and this is how important it is on a snowy day here to be able to get here. But the significance of this press conference and what we are doing is very critical to the future as well. But building on the governor's BuildSmart initiative that was announced last week, it aligns workforce efforts statewide, and we're calling this landmark public-private proposal, as the governor indicated, the KCTCS BuildSmart investment for Kentucky competitiveness. This investment is a perfect example of public-private partnership, and it builds upon the strong connections that our colleges have always formed with their local businesses and the communities all across our state. And building is what this investment is all about. It's building people skills, it's building communities, and it's building Kentucky's economy. All beneficiaries of this investment, they have a stake in this investment as well. Communities have a stake because 25% of the funding, or $48.5 million statewide, will be matched from private and other funds from our KCTCS colleges in their local communities. They will benefit from the partnerships that are enhanced economic development and workforce development, which will result in new and renovated facilities all across the state. Students who attend our colleges will be supporting the KCTCS BuildSmart investment when they enroll in our classes. They will benefit from having additional state-of-the-art facilities, new programs that will further enhance their individual educational experiences while enrolled at one of our 16 colleges. And KCTCS is the place where nearly half of Kentucky's higher education students turn when they're looking for that opportunity for training and education. We are the place where higher education begins for most Kentuckians. We know that the workforce needs of Kentucky's businesses, they continue to change and they continue to grow. In fact, by 2018, just 4 years from now, more than half the jobs in Kentucky will require some form of post-secondary education, and we are here to provide that education for them. And that's why it's so important for us to renovate existing structures or build new facilities to meet those needs. You know, and despite continued expansion of our programs across the state and the services of the colleges, there has not been an investment, as the governor said, in our system since 2006. It's time to get started. The 16 projects in this proposal include renovating current facilities like the main building at Ashland Community and Technical College, which was built in 1967 and needs major renovation. Other projects include construction of facilities like the Regional Post-Secondary Education Center for a new Rowan campus to develop the Center of Excellence in Advanced Manufacturing. And funding will be used for planning new endeavors like the future campus at Carrollton, which will be part of Jefferson Community and Technical College. And there is substantial unmet need for new construction and renovation projects at all 16 colleges. This is really just scratching the surface, but we need to do it in order to train Kentuckians for those high-wage, high-demand jobs that Kentucky is generating. BuildSmart will help us take new steps, new and bold steps, in meeting those needs. You know, I'm very optimistic that the General Assembly will see the wisdom of this proposal and will authorize us to move forward so we can help more Kentuckians improve their quality of life, which in turn, it simply helps our state economy. So Governor Beshear, thank you so much for supporting this proposal, and thank you for supporting the work of KCTCS and all that we do all across the state. Thanks, Governor.
Before we take questions, I want to introduce the chair of the board at KCTCS, PG Peoples. PG, thank you. Any questions for Dr. McCall? That's the way I got elected governor.
All 16 presidents are here. Could ask them, does anyone feel he or she cannot raise the 25% from communities and private sources? Do y'all feel confident to do that?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's everybody. How will this affect student tuition, the cost of education?
Well, the proposed agency fund will come from a capital fee that will be assessed to students that will be coming in. We plan to really phase this in. The total amount will be required for this would be $8 per credit hour per student. And as these bonds would be issued and as construction and planning for this would take place over a period of a couple of years, I'm working with President King at CPE to be able to figure out a way that we can stagger this so that it's not as one lump sum starting this fall, and that we want to phase it over maybe a couple of years.
So $8 per credit every semester?
Yes,
So if you take 15 hours, $20.
that's right, that's right.
And that's on top of any tuition increase?
Yes, sir, that would be on,
How much is that?
we don't know yet. I guess we're in initial discussions right now and talking about that, and no decision has been made at this point.
But your point is that the $8 will not be imposed this coming fall?
Yes, it would be proposed, half of it would be, or at least, we would propose maybe half this year and half the following year. But yeah, it would go ahead and we would start that process this fall.
So $8 per credit hour this coming fall?
Maybe $4 per credit this fall. $4 the following fall. We work with CPE for that process that we put in place.
$4 will be added to the $4, giving you $8 next year.
Yes, right,
And
right.
the credit fee, does it apply to the 25% you have to raise from communities and private sources?
No,
That's the state.
that's right.
Anybody else?
Do y'all think tuition will have to then go up too?
Well, we're looking at that. It depends on what ends up coming out of the budget. We certainly are concerned about the operating costs that will continue to go up. Our belief is that we need to moderate as low as we can for tuition increases, but the fee is we don't have a fee. We in KCTCS, unlike the universities or other states, there are a lot of fees that are added on. You see a per credit hour, and when you see it in KCTCS, that per credit hour is for everything, and it's for all students, whether you take an automotive program or welding program or whether you are taking a course in English or math or something else. So this would be the first time we would add, it'd be a capital fee for all students, and so it's just something we have never done, but we believe that now is the time to do that.
Anybody else? Thank you all very much.
Did y'all prioritize,
Whoops.
I'm sorry, Governor, did y'all prioritize these 16 or all 16 equally, desperately needed?
Yes, they're all 16 are desperately. We go through a process every year. Prior to this, it's been 2 years in the making. And all of our colleges begin what's called a strategic needs analysis to look strategically what are going to be the needs over the biennium and the 6 year as well. So each one of these projects are their number one project that they need at their institution.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Governor.